What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is January 28th of 2021. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's video, we're going to be spending some time to talk about a critical DeFi play that I think could really lead the market when it comes to the altcoin space. Along with that as well, diving into where we are in the broader cycle, trying to put some context on what kind of range of valuations we're going to see in this cycle. And last but not least as well, spending some time to do a sponsored review of a really interesting project known as Ethereum Network. Many of you might remember it. We've covered it as far back as 2017, and they're aiming to build a decentralized VPN for the global economy. So we're going to be talking about all that and more, guys. Let's just go ahead and dive straight into the video here. Taking a look here over the last 24 hours here, we can see that a lot of cryptocurrencies here are still maintaining green territory, but for the most part, most of the market here is in neutral territory. Nothing too big here in the sense of the broader crypto space. We are still seeing, though, a lot of DeFi plays here again. 0x, we're seeing Bancor here, Compound, also emerging protocols like Polkadot and other DeFi plays like Kyber Network and Chainlink continue to hold up alongside some of the newer players like Alpha Homora, Terra, and OneEdge. And then, of course, Dogecoin going up because Wall Street Bets talked about it. So anyways, guys, as you're probably wondering now, as I did allude to earlier, we are going to be talking about the one altcoin that I really think has some potential here. And don't worry, it's not Dogecoin. As much as I think there is as much wow when it comes to Dogecoin, it is one of the funnier parts of crypto. What we're going to be talking about today here is a project that we discussed in our top 10 altcoin video, and that is Loopring, or LRC. Now, a lot of you here know I've been a big DeFi head for a while. I've been building a DeFi project for the greater part of the last 2 years. And with that, I've gotten to see a lot of projects come and go. I've gotten to really realize the benefits of DeFi and really realize what kind of potential lies within DeFi, what use cases actually make sense. And I think it's very clear to all of us in crypto who at one point or another have probably interacted with some type of exchange that exchange services seem like a great thing to be able to see if we can, decentralize, reduce the cost of, and open access to, as well as provide scalable, trustless swaps where we don't have to custody within a centralized exchange. And that's exactly what automated market makers like Uniswap, or in this case, Loopring, do. Now, you all know I've been a big fan of Uni and Uniswap overall. It's still one of my largest positions. Actually, it's technically my largest current position in the sense of the DeFi space right now in crypto. But the one thing I want to emphasize is that I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. And one other play here that I think is really good, whether it's on the technical aspects of price action, whether it's on a fundamental basis, is Loopring. It is hands down one of the key plays that I'm watching here in the market. So we can see here, just over the last few weeks, starting off back in January, they had their basically the liquidity mining program and stuff where they got people to provide liquidity to the Loopring platform. And in that case, they could farm the native Loopring token, similar to how there's like a Uni token for the Uniswap protocol. And this brought in obviously a lot of excitement around the price of the token. But outside of this as well, it also brought a ton of needed liquidity, which is something we're going to be diving into in a moment on this fundamental sense. But in the sense of technicals here, price action looks good. We've got the lower highs, higher lows, building in towards a consolidated wedge. Volume has faded as we've gone through this wedge here. And it's going to be a matter of seeing if we can get a breakout here over the next week or so above this line of resistance and really start climbing up here. This is the kind of technical patterns you look for in altcoin cycles, guys. It's not rocket science. You don't need to overanalyze price. We tend to see these wedges building up on solid plays. We get these higher lows as buyers are coming in at higher price ranges, and they're anticipating, in this case, for that breakout. The second thing as well in the technicals here is that we were able to make support here. As you can see, this was the bottom of the pullback here from the initial rally. We came right back onto this consistent resistance range back here in September. So again, I think that this is a really critical point here for Loopring in the sense of its price. And if we really think about it here in the grand scheme of the altcoin cycle, we could see this really starting to chart higher. An original target that I actually set is for $1. And I think that once we get the breakout on this, $1 will be pretty easy to achieve sometime in February, probably early February. But let's talk about it on a fundamental basis. For Loopring itself here, for those who don't know, Loopring is a decentralized exchange, or more specifically, an automated market maker. It allows you and I to be able to interact with smart contracts and swap between one token to another without the need of a centralized exchange, and with the ability to trade any time of the day without any downtime, and probably pay lower fees than most exchanges while being able to trade the initial asset I own to another asset and receive it immediately to my wallet. And that's a really exciting thing overall, guys. This whole idea and model of AMMs and the ability to not have to trust a centralized exchange to custody funds. I think we've realized one of the most expensive mistakes this space has had is trusting assets with centralized platforms who don't take proper custodial measures into account. There can be some really good arguments to be made about centralized custody, but at the same time, if you have the ability to get something just as good than the traditional system in a decentralized format where there isn't a need for trust, I would probably take that over the latter in that case, or over the other option. So anyways, I recommend reading through here why Loopring stands up, but I'm going to give you guys the quick pitch here. Overall, Loopring here as a DEX, and it's live, you can go test it out overall and connect your wallet and basically go through the overall onboarding process. It's a decentralized exchange that at the end of the day is one of the first players on the market to actually have layer 2 scaling through ZK rollups. Now, for those of you out there who don't know what ZK rollups are, it's not a problem. It's a form of layer 2 scaling that at the end of the day, to keep it simple, short and to the point, allows you to do a lot of computational activity off the Ethereum chain and saving on the cost in this case when you actually deploy the state to the main chain. So overall, this means we can have extremely cheap transactions, fractions of a penny in order to make a swap through a platform like Loopring, while also being able to have practically the same exact securities you would have on-chain on the Ethereum network. And it's really, really exciting. But the question here at the end of the day, if we want to be able to make, for example, trades, I can just type in here, for example, I want to trade 10 ETH into $12,928 of USDC. I know my price impact or the slippage, the fees, everything is transparent, and all I have to do is connect my wallet. The one thing we need to make sure of is that Loopring, much like we talk about with Uniswap and other AMMs, that they have increasing liquidity. Because this price impact here is the biggest concern we have to worry about, is there's a lack of liquidity in any protocol, especially in AMMs, you're going to incur larger slippage. So a slippage, for those who don't know, is kind of like a immediate loss that you're going to take basically making a trade. And it's because of the fact that you're trying to trade too much of any given currency to another asset. The good news is here, though, that on a fundamental basis, as we are analyzing liquidity, you can go to websites like DeFi Pulse and see the amount of locked up value in each of these networks. We can actually see that the rate of Ethereum increase here has been getting up larger and larger, and we're seeing this across the board in a lot of assets on Loopring. The thing is here on DeFi Pulse, they only charter a few things. So like the Bitcoin, for example, has been going down, but DAI has been soaring alongside Ethereum, and the total value locked up here has continued to rally since the beginning of the year, more than tripling here, which is really exciting to me personally. I love seeing this kind of growth overall. I want to continue to see this growth if I want to continue to maintain my confidence over on Loopring. But I got to say, when it comes to the tech, they were definitely ahead of the curve in regards to layer 2. And I think that you guys should definitely do some due diligence, take a look into the project, maybe even give it a test yourself. It's all accessible through a web browser. You can use things like MetaMask. And I'm definitely considering possibly putting it into Digifox. We've had a lot of people, again, who have been complaining about the network fees and have been waiting for some kind of layer 2 solution. I know many of you have mentioned a variety of other plays. Loopring's not the only one, but it's definitely been one of the most time-tested ones that's been around for a long period of time in the crypto space. Now, this kind of leads me as well into talking a little bit about the current state of the crypto market. I've had a lot of you out there seeing the rally in Uni, seeing the rally in a lot of other DeFi tokens, and a lot of people are asking me, Nick, like, are we getting exhausted here? When is this going to stop? Like, when are we going to see a pullback? Are things getting overvalued? And guys, I can't speak for what's going to happen today or tomorrow, but I do want to make something very clear here. And that is that the perception that many people have about how far things can go is way off in the crypto space. It's ironic because I see very high expectations on Bitcoin for the most part, but I don't see those same expectations for altcoins. And I also know how to keep things conservative and rational as well. So let me go ahead and actually spend some time to talk about that. Ethereum is a great example to kind of segue on this conversation. Ethereum is at its all-time highs, or at least it's trailing near there. It set new all-time highs the other day, but we quickly corrected. A lot of people are curious, like, oh my gosh, Nick, this looks like really overvalued here, buying at the top here. Should I be worried? And quite frankly, guys, no, I wouldn't be worried here because in the past here, when Ethereum retests its all-time highs, it tends to charter higher and start the next cycle. And looking at the logarithmic chart, it'll give you this type of perspective overall that you should keep in mind. overall going forward with the kind of rate of Ethereum here. And as we can see on the logarithmic chart, if we do even a fraction of what we've done in the past in the sense of the cycle, we're looking at upper 4-digit territory, possibly even double-digit territory for Ethereum, which is absolutely massive. But it goes even farther beyond this in this case, right? Bitcoin again as well, right? I want to keep neutral here and fair, again, not just focus on altcoins. Bitcoin is still in the early stages here. We just broke above the all-time highs recently. We're only 50% above those all-time highs or the previous ones back in 2017. But the best chart you can look at is total market cap and looking at it on a logarithmic chart. So I want to go ahead here and take a look at something we wrote about within the Dash report a while ago. If you guys are interested, it's a great way to support the channel. I'll leave it linked down below in the description. But basically speaking, this was a chart here that we produced in the Dash report. And we drew this a while ago in this because you can tell this has been drawn back all the way since kind of September, October. And the general goal here is not really per se to draw the exact line or prediction of where crypto markets are going to go. No one knows exactly how price is going to play out a couple months or a year from now. Heck, even in a few weeks, we don't know what's going to happen. But one thing we can project from the past is understanding that through the understanding of humans and investors looking for big even numbers, they're looking for repetition and the kind of multiples that happen in previous cycles at decayed levels. We can get some general assumptions as to where total market capitalization might go. And it can give us some great context to really ignore the parabolic price action and the heightened valuations in which we haven't seen before on altcoins, and really gives us some good context. So to put it simple, we just broke above the all-time highs for market cap back here from January 2018 here and the month of January in 2021, 3 years later. And now we're at the early stages of the broader cycle here, guys. And the reason for that is because we're likely going to target a range somewhere around $9 trillion to $10 trillion. Now, how can I be so confident in saying this? Well, if we take a look back at the past here, from this general bottom range, not even picking the absolute bottom here, just down here around when we were at $2 to $3 billion for total market cap, this included Bitcoin and altcoins, we can see here that the overall market in this case almost went up nearly 30,000% here in this case, right? Roughly around 27,000%. So just to provide some context to that, that's a 277 multiple on top of previous valuations, right? And if we rough that off here again for a little bit of rounding error in this case, right? You're talking about markets, especially if you were to consider the wicks down here and the bottom range of price, you're talking about more than a 300x from the bottom. Now, when we do the same here as well, we want to be able to see what's realistic here. What is realistic from the bottom of the market here, the bottom of the bear market? If we come up here, what we're basically asking for, and you guys can't really see it here, I'll go ahead and remove this green box, but we'll come back to it in a moment. You can see it's only a 9,000% increase, or basically in this case, to keep it simple, near around a 90x, right? So overall, a fraction of what we saw before. Less than a third of the kind of momentum that we saw before from the bottom. Now, there's also something that I want to analyze as well, and that is from the all-time high here. We're only asking, in this case, to go up 1,000% from the previous all-time high in market cap to reach these kind of valuations. If we do that from the previous time around here, back in 2014, right? You can see here, 8,500%. A much higher multiple here to chase this big even level up here. It's really not that difficult, and it's not that far out. The critical thing that I want to emphasize to you all, I think, is you guys have probably seen with DeFi coins soaring higher, with Bitcoin doing what it's done as of recent, and even taking a look at what's been going on in equity markets. You have a ton of non-profitable companies that may be doing innovative things that are exciting, that are at record high valuations to not meet with the fundamental financials or growth. Markets are not fundamental. And when we take a look at these kind of parabolic euphoric valuations somewhere in this $3 to $9 trillion range, it doesn't matter how far separated it is from reality, so long as people are willing to pay the prices of these tokens, so long as there's velocity and volatility, you're going to have these kind of heightened prices and valuations. It's a matter of being able to know when those target ranges are going to come up, to see the signs when markets are waning and a trend reversal is in sight, and to make sure we have a plan to take profit. These are one of those few opportunities we're going to get in our lives, guys, overall. And I'm excited to have you guys here in this journey. And overall, I think that there will be a pretty steady correction coming down in this line of support here. that's going to, again, set us up for the next cycle, the next parabolic rally with lower multiples than the time before. So that provided some decent context, hopefully, for you guys in the sense of understanding where we are in the altcoin cycle. But I want to go ahead and dive into this really interesting interview here with Sharmini, who's one of my good friends over at Mysterium Network. So let's go ahead and dive into the conversation. Alrighty, everyone. So in today's sponsored interview, I'm sitting down with Sharmini, who's one of the team members over at Mysterium Network. This is a project that I've not only been a fan of and kind of following since back in 2017, as it's aiming to build a decentralized virtual private network service, or VPN, as it's commonly referred to as. And this can help people do all types of different things. It can allow you to access censored content that you traditionally may not be able to access, maybe due to governments, or along with this as well, geo restrictions. And outside of this as well, being able to provide people with an ability to have privacy on the internet, to keep your ISP provider or to keep other third party or tracking services from actually being able to get an understanding of what you're doing on the internet in this case. And that can be really important for personal privacy. But above all, this really, I think, is coming in at an interesting time due to the rapid rate of censorship that's been going on. And as we all believe in crypto about censorship resistant money, we also believe in censorship resistance when it comes to speech as well. Now, one last thing I just want to mention is that while we're on this call right now with Sharmini, that we're going to dive into in just a moment, I want to showcase to you guys on the right hand side of the screen, we're actually running on the Mysterium network right now. It's a decentralized version of virtual private network in this case that allows us to connect to a variety of different nodes on the network. And right now we're able to do a Google call while using it. And I'm actually using the native MIST token in order to pay for the service. So Sharmini, thank you for making the time. It was so great when we got to catch up last, and we've been long-term friends in the space and stuff. So how have you been?
I've been really good, Nick, and I'm really excited to be back on to talk about the work we're doing. It's been pivotal watching what's happening in the world and seeing how the technology that we're creating is finding real world use cases and impact has been so valuable for us as a team to understand that we're on the right track. When we last spoke, we were talking about how we're going to move on to testnet 2.0. I'm super excited to give you guys more details today about our migration to testnet 2.0. But first of all, I really wanted to kind of contextualize and explain the difference between a traditional VPN and a decentralized VPN for people who might not be familiar with our project. So in the case of a traditional VPN, most people think, oh, I'm using a VPN, so I am protected. But what's actually happening is you're just shifting this trust that you might have on your internet service provider or on the government or jurisdiction that you're within onto a VPN provider. So if you look into the VPN market, you actually dig, you start to see quite a terrifying oligopoly happening of multiple brands owned by a few companies. And this is one of the reasons that we exist, the decentralized VPN. We're different in the sense that our nodes or the exit points in our VPN are all run by people. So it's a peer-to-peer connection. You pay people by the kilobyte, basically, for how much you consume. So you're not locked into these subscription services that are often the case with traditional VPNs. And you don't have to trust any particular big centralized entity. You can keep changing your node up. And in that sense, it's trustless, it's permissionless, and it's really what I believe personally that the internet needs to keep it free and censorship resistant these days.
Yeah, Sharmini, in that case, I think one big point there that differs you guys from traditional technologies, I mean, we've seen, especially with this concern of censorship, with the Great Wall and China, basically the Great Firewall in this case, blocking people from being able to access outside services in China. We've seen censorship in Iran and Russia and a variety of different locations across the world. We're now seeing that debate come to the States and many other regions in the Western countries. One thing that I think is great about you guys is that because you're truly decentralized and everything is settled in crypto, it is truly censorship resistant. And in this case, as we'll dive into, I know you guys have a mobile interface, you have a desktop interface. It's kind of prepared for just about anyone to be able to access this service, which I think is so beautiful. And you put it pretty eloquently, like this is the message of the internet and what it stands for, that everyone should be able to have open access to it. We should be able to communicate with who we want to communicate with. So to this point here, I want to go ahead and dive in. As we can see here, I've been running on the Mysterium network for the last couple of minutes here. Connections running through good. We're being able to talk. You're over all the way across the world from where I am at the moment. So I'm curious to ask you, Sharmini, like, what are some of the big developments you guys have had as of recent? What are some of the major announcements you guys have going on? I know that there's a big exchange listing that you guys have for the native token to add more liquidity, but also there's a lot of big product updates as well. So you want to spend some time to dive into that?
Absolutely, Nick. So thank you so much for kind of prefacing that. We're really excited about several messages that we have at the moment. The first one being our listing on Bittrex Global. So Mist is now available on Bittrex Global. And the main reason we did this is so as to create a bigger gateway to Mist, allow for more people to access Mist easily. We're currently also listed on HitBTC and on Uniswap, but this new listing on Bittrex Global will allow for a much larger community of people to first interact with the token and then also get to know our network much better. And this is extremely important in a time when we're scaling our network to for both users and node runners. So with the listing on Bittrex Global come like a whole suite of really exciting token-based initiatives. We have a trading competition and several super exciting token giveaways. So if you want to hear about them, follow us on Twitter. We're MysteriumNet on Twitter, or jump into our Discord if you actually want to talk directly to our core team. We're always super available to hear from users of our network on how we can improve the quality of our products and service. That's the main reason that we have an open channel of communications with our network through Discord.
Yeah, I mean, overall, Shamini, what I like is it seems like you guys are very ground up, like in building around your community. And it has to be that way because overall, this is something that's going to be fostered and developed with more and more nodes on the network, more people contributing. I mean, what's really just crazy to think about right now, like I'm connecting directly to someone on a unique IP address and stuff, and they're rerouting this traffic right now. And what's so crazy about this, again, I think people don't understand just kind of the ramifications of this, is that this is censorship resistance at its finest. Like there's no way you're able to shut down millions of computers. And this is why traditional VPNs have failed in China for the opposite fact, and the fact that there's only a couple dozen providers in any given country. And with this, when a government basically learns about the IP address or where that traffic's being routed, they can easily go down and shut it down. And then now you have no access to the outside World Wide Web. And, you know, it's really upsetting overall. But I just got to say, Shamini, like this really leaves me with a lot of hope because I've seen a lot of projects project this concept. And to see it like we did last time around, working live while we're doing the interview and stuff is so cool. Now, I want to dive in here a little bit. I'm taking a bit of a browse to like the website. If you guys want to check them out, we'll have a link down below in the description, but you can go to Mysterium.network and you kind of read through. And one of the things I like above all is just how Mysterium Network checks off all the boxes comparative to using traditional Tor browsing through maybe, for example, the Brave browser or using it through the actual Tor Explorer. And then outside of that as well, using a traditional VPN. You can see that there's a lot of check marks here. Things, for example, like protecting all online connections that you don't have protected when you're on Tor. Unlocking streaming content. This is something that, again, is not accessed through Tor in this case. You're basically going to be rerouting to a different geolocation. So maybe, for example, this is like, a lot of people think of censorship as this thing of like, oh, it's so far out, it's not going to affect me. What if there's a series you want to watch on Netflix that like you paid good money for, you paid for your Netflix subscription, and you can't access it because of the country that you're in. It's geo-restricted. So that's, again, something that you can access with Mysterium and stuff. That's a really big benefit. And overall, I mean, Shamini, like, I'm curious to hear overall, like, you know, let's talk big picture. You know, I think Mysterium has obviously made some great progress. I know you guys, for example, I'm showing a quick video here as well of the new user experience that you guys are working on for the mobile interface, which I'm kind of a big UX bug. I really love a clean product, and I think you guys have done a phenomenal job on it, being able to top up your account in different currencies, being able to see the amount of web pages you're accessing and how much gigabytes of storage you can access. The one thing I'm really curious to ask you about, though, is like, where do you see censorship going over the next couple of months? Like, do you think this trend we're seeing now, being realistic, like, is going to get worse, or are we going to start to see hopefully some upside to it?
I mean, working in the space of censorship, we're really focused on kind of the extremes of it. We've been really involved in helping with the NSARS movement in Nigeria. We've got a great community on the ground of activists that have both understood the technology and the value it provides to them in terms of access to information. So we unfortunately don't see it getting better before it gets worse. This is one of the reasons why we're working super hard on a technological answer to this problem. This is why a peer-to-peer network is so important. This is why incentivization is so important. Tor has existed for many years without incentivization. So we have managed to grow a network quite quickly, even within our research and development phase. And I'm super excited for when we go to mainnet, which is when the peer-to-peer like dream comes into full fruition, and we can grow our node network basically based on user demand, right? So in that sense, I think coming back to your question, Nick, censorship is going to be there as long as there are centralized entities in control of power. That is just the nature of centralization and power, in like my personal opinion. And what we need to do as a humankind is take back that power through decentralization and technological arms giving us like avenues to do this, but it's not the only way.
Absolutely, Shamina. I completely agree with you. I think, any small benefits you get from censorship are usually waned out quite quickly by authoritarianism and censorship of decent, kind exchange and stuff. It's one day someone else being censored, and then the next day it could be you, and that's a very scary, feeling. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But overall, I mean, Shamina,
What do you think? Sorry to throw it back at you. What do you think as someone from the US? Like, what do you think about the whole situation that's happening over there?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, like for me personally, this is why I've always supported networks like Mysterium in this case, but also any project that's focusing on doing this, because I've always feared that this day might come and stuff. It seems very kind of Orwellian, 1984. It sounds almost like a cypherpunk kind of dystopian future. But to be honest, it's really what we're living through. And it starts off with mild forms of it. We've seen it over the last decade, the slow encroaching on it. And, someone from the States who really appreciates values like the First Amendment, it's really difficult to see that that's possibly going to be coming as a restriction. I remember a while back, everyone was so concerned about net neutrality, for example, right? And this was something that was highly politicized and people were so concerned about it. And it was this kind of unified thing that everyone was like, yeah, this is like terrible. The centralization of not VPNs, internet service providers. But no one shows the same kind of concern for social network providers, media outlets. Yes. And this is basically causing, the real dilemma is actually in the censorship of these outlets where we communicate with one another, where we consume information. And I'm genuinely concerned overall about that future. But I got to tell you, Shamini, I'm really meaning this genuinely, guys, like for all you guys listening in, like, any kind of technologies that can improve the censorship resistance of money, the censorship resistance of communication, the censorship resistance of internet connectivity. This is what crypto is about. This is what blockchain and decentralized systems are actually about. And there's a dozen different use cases that get tossed out and they get oversold in the crypto space. This is one that actually makes sense. And it makes sense to have a utility token that's tied to the network overall, because you need to have a fuel for the network that pays people for what they do. And second off as well, as a key utility function within the network. So you equalize, in this case, both the kind of the supply, in this case, to provide to people who are providing the service, and also the demand or the value of the token, in this case, that people pay for in order to access the service. Again, it's an equilibrium that, again, you can only find in a few use cases in the blockchain space. And Shamini, to you guys and the team and stuff, I know, in this case, that Mysterium's been around since 2017. You guys have been in the fight for a long time. I like seeing projects that have stuck around. There's a lot of projects that came and went and didn't stick around with building that vision. And I want to give hats off to you guys for it. Even whether or not you guys end up succeeding in the long run or not and stuff, I think that this is a phenomenal early stage project and company. And I really genuinely wish you guys all the best. And to that point overall, about people maybe getting more engaged or like being able to learn more about what you guys are doing at Mysterium, joining those Discord communities. I'll leave a link down below, guys, where you guys can kind of go to the base website. That should be where you can get most information. But Shamini, is there any other things that people should check out in that case that might give them more information about what's going on with Mysterium?
Yeah, absolutely. I really wanted to talk about our testnet 2.0 release, where we're actually migrating all our applications across to our second testnet. And what's different over there, which I think is super exciting, is we've got a CoinGate integration, which allows for you to top up your Mysterium account using Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, BCH, and a whole other range of cryptocurrencies. So we're crypto agnostic. We might have our own utility token, Nick, that you've talked about, but we're most focused on getting as many people into our network as possible and lowering that bar to entry. So with this move, I think we've really opened up to the Bitcoin community, which is really seeing like a whole influx of new users in the last couple of months. So we're hoping that these new users can also use our DVPN and understand the different value propositions of cryptocurrencies beyond just Bitcoin. But it doesn't just stop there. You can pay for it with ETH, you can pay for it with Litecoin. And you asked earlier about stablecoins. We'll be coming, maybe we'll talk about that soon when we chat next.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear more about that. And like, again, all the ways you guys have kind of streamlined being able to get access to Mist and being able to access Mysterium Network and its services. I mean, above all, Shamini, I mean, this is really exciting stuff. Like I said, it's very rare when you find these kind of early stage companies that are building something valuable. It's really something when you have what you're building perfectly fitting with the times that we're living in right now. So I think you guys are definitely on the front lines of something really cool. I wish you guys all the best to it. And again, guys, if you haven't already, check out what Ethereum's doing. Like I said, we first covered it back in 2017. One of the few use cases that I actually see blockchain useful for outside of money or decentralized finance. So Sharmini, thank you so much for making the time. I'm so excited to see testnet 2.0, and we'll definitely have to have you back on the channel for sure.
Oh, can't wait, Nick. And I hope next time we actually show the beautiful app released.
Yes, the mobile app. Yeah, I'll show it one more time here because I like beautiful UX and stuff. But this is again what Sharmini was talking about, guys, about the top up of the account. So being able to slide over and everything and choose your different currencies, having a payment link overall using the QR scanner. I mean, this is really good stuff, Sharmini. So hats off to the UX team on that. I'll have to show my designer over at Digifox and stuff the design you guys put together. It's really nice.
Oh, that's really nice, Nick. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really great to come and speak with you, and really great to reach your community as well to speak about the value of the work that we're doing. And we hope that people don't just use our DVPN, but start running nodes, because now more than ever, people in highly censored regions need our help as a human project.
Yeah.
And I hope people hear that and join our network and provide this value into helping other people communicate securely, helping people access information in places where it's genuinely quite scary, like Nigeria, like Ethiopia. So we hope to see you running a node or using our DVPN.
Yeah, absolutely. To build on that point, Sharmini, just to make it clear, guys, and just how powerful decentralization is first off, if we don't use this tech, it's not valuable at the end of the day unless we use it, right? And the second thing as well, to your point, Sharmini, is that actual decentralization here actually helps to fight censorship resistance by running a node, because if you have more geographical nodes that are near your region or as close to your region as possible, providing higher levels of bandwidth, being able to provide better connections at a lower cost, in this case, you build out a free market that helps to reach as many people as possible. If I'm in one of these censored regions, like Sharmini is mentioning, in one of these regions like Ethiopia, where I can't connect to a traditional VPN service that might only service Western countries like the States or Canada, I'm not going to be able to probably access that service or afford it on a subscription basis, or connect it to, if I can't connect my bank account to it and things of that sort. So this is where, again, crypto just opens up a whole new can of worms and stuff to really help a lot of people. So Sharmini, we'll be sure to have you back on, and thanks for making the time as always.
Thank you, Nick.